Welcome to my place. I've got this extra space here that I've just loved hanging up just all my stuff, whether it's awards or locations that I've visited. I've shot all these photographs, memories, everything means something here from past performances, stuff with my kids, and I'm a little bit of a Disney nut, so this actually hung in the All-Star Music Resort at Disney World.
Oh, cool.
And this is a shot that I took of the castle.
Ooh.
I've got several friends, because of so much animation work that I do in music, I've got a lot of friends that are in animation. So you'll see some animation that some of them have done and that sort of thing. So,
hey, look at this.
Oh.
I recognize this fella.
That's a Mr. John Williams. That was a highlight for me. I photographed the Nashville Symphony also, and they did a fundraiser with John 2 years ago, and I got to photograph it.
That
was amazing.
So cool.
And got a picture with him, which, yeah, I mean, you see here, Close Encounters was one of the most influential films for me growing up.
Wow.
Both just the story and the score, and to be able to meet John then later. Yeah, highlight of my life. So
cool.
to walk by him every day when I come to work is great.
That's amazing.
And some of the movies I've worked on, The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything with VeggieTales. As you'll see in my studio, I've got a German theme, so I've got some German stuff going on here.
This is cool. My kid would love this.
Okay,
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, so my buddy worked at Disney, and this came out of the, I don't know if I should be saying this. This came out of the garbage can. This is extras. So this is the first of a series of animations, and this is the end, 5:13 through 19.
Wow.
So that means there's 5 frames in between here that then the secondary animator animates going from point A to point B.
Wow.
So that's what all these numbers mean.
That is so cool. That's a good one. We've seen that one 100 times.
Yeah, yeah.
KH Studios. Holy cow.
Plural, because I'm a musician and a photographer. So, but most of what you'll see here is music related.
This is beautiful.
It's cozy. That was my goal. We moved in here 2 years ago from Franklin, and my wife found this house and she picked it out because of this upstairs that she knew I needed some space on my own. So I've got my own space up here, I've got my own bathroom up here, so I can practically live up here. I've always been enamored with German pubs, German background. I've got a German background myself. I played in a German band, and actually I led a German band in high school. And I've always wanted wooden beams, German pub sort of look. So my buddy, actually the one that was an animator for Disney, he's also a woodworker, and we took wood out of 2 barns that had been torn down in Franklin. And so all the woodwork on the ceilings and then all the shelves come out of barns in Franklin. He helped me do all the stripping of the wood and finishing it and that sort of thing. So I'm going for that German pub feel. Ironically, I don't drink beer, but with a name like Heineke, I had a little fun with the Heineken theme. So
you must have done a ton of traveling, because there's stuff from everywhere in here.
Well, yeah, actually with VeggieTales, we did one of our scores in Prague, Czech Republic, so spent 9 days there. Did another score in Seattle. My kids play violin in a studio here, Music City Strings, and with them, because I've been one of their directors, we've toured Europe and China and Canada.
Holy cow.
And then I photograph. I'm fortunate to photograph on a couple cruises a year.
Okay.
So I'm always in the Caribbean doing things, always drop by Disney for a day when I'm down there. So anytime I'm somewhere, I'm always on the lookout. We'll see on the shelves over here, or on the shelves over here. You know, I love picking up a little percussion instrument, little whistle, little recorder, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've found some of the best stuff in souvenir shops and in street markets and that sort of stuff, because you never know when you're gonna have a use for it. I've got a music education degree. I've got in band and choral, but I was always dabbling in the electronics, and then got involved. I was a band director for a couple of years, but got involved in a church, and I was having to do a lot of programming and sequencing there. And it was in this church that the creators of VeggieTales were members of the church and members of the music team. So I was working with those guys before they even had the vision for VeggieTales, and they came to me and said, hey, we've got this this idea about talking vegetables, telling Bible stories, and I'm like, hey, yeah, that sounds a little weird, but sounds interesting, because they said, would you like to help with the music?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I have no idea where we're going with this, but I love the idea, because these guys were really creative. So just got started with them back in '93. And, you know, the first couple of years, it didn't take off. My dad would be like, you know, you're not really getting paid, and is this worth doing? And I'm like, these are good guys. These are good stories. I feel good about this. And then, yeah, it exploded, and here we are now. I've seen studios, I've worked in studios that are pristine and, you know, clean stonework and woodwork around, and just nothing out of place. And I was like, it just doesn't feel right to me. I'm a cluttered kind of guy, and I love messiness. I love memories. So when I was building this, I was like, you know what? I want to get everything in here.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to do is have access to everything, because the studio I had built before this, you know, I had things in cases and I had to take things out. And that was one of my main goals, was I want to, you know, I've got 4 microphones set up in the studio all the time, and I want to just be able to grab an instrument and just record it like that.
That's awesome.
And then I didn't even think about it at first, but with the wooden beams in here, I was like, oh, I can just put big eye hooks in here and hooks, and hang all my brass instruments and just grab them. I've got a whole shelf system for all my Irish whistles and Native American flutes and all of that sort of stuff, so I can just grab what I need. And so that's what we started with. You know, I spent nights just in bed thinking, okay, how am I gonna display all my whistles and flutes? And just spent days wandering around Home Depot and found these are the tops of wooden fences. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I turn those over and then put hooks in them, I can get 2 layers of flutes. So everything's by key, C, D, E, F, G, and they're all different, you know, styles. Irish whistles, these are low Irish whistles.
So
cool. I can play Titanic for you. But then you get into some of the ethnic Middle Eastern tunings. Yes. So that's why you see so many different things here. Here's a Native American, so you've got a different tuning going on here. You can get into totally different reed. There's a reed in here. This one can get a little wonky. Let's see if I can do this. Wow. So that's why you see so many varieties. And, you know, I hinted before, you know, you go to Mexico and you pick up a $3 whistle like this, and you think, okay, it doesn't sound good. It's real breathy, or maybe out of tune.
Yeah.
But I've done projects that I need to emulate first century music.
Yeah.
I'm like, there you go. Get it breathy, get it out of tune. That's what they're looking for.
That's so cool.
So yeah, I love just having this again at my fingertips, able to grab whatever I need to grab. This is a flag that my dad brought home from Japan. He was in the occupying forces of World War II.
Whoa.
He played in an orchestra there. It was half American troops and half Japanese citizens. So it was part of their program of bringing the country back together. So that's a neat memory of my dad there.
Very cool. More whistles?
Yeah.
Percussion?
Recorders, whistles, percussion, just the extra doodads. Yeah, I've got recorders laying all over the place. So, and then, you know, I love, and I've got a bunch over there, just noisemakers. This is my I guess my Christmas selection.
Yeah.
But this sort of stuff, you know, you've got a bed of synthesized loops, but you put something like this over the top of it, and it just brings it to life.
Yeah.
I'm a big Disney fan. I love their parks. I love the attention to detail, because I do a lot of that myself. I've actually worked on about 13 projects now that I've played whistles, trumpet, trombone, clarinet in some of their park shows. So I'm a big fan of Disney. I've gone through cycles. You know, I start a collection, so maybe one year it's accordions, one year it's rotary valve brass instruments, and I've gone through a time period where I loved collecting authentic Disney stuff, because you'll see that online sometimes. So like these are seaweed from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that didn't get used because they were going to do a refurbishment and they ended up not doing it. So that's from there. And my one thing that I'm really excited about is Country Bear Jamboree has a show, and this is the character Max, and he is in the show, and they were selling extra fur of his because they were going to do a refurbishment that they didn't do. And so this is actually the shipping crate. It says WDW Magic Kingdom, Max's Belly. So I got a whole bolt of fur for him, and that's what you see right here.
What?
This is Max's Belly, and I'm going to show you over here.
This is from a show?
Well, again, it was a refurb, so this is what they bought for the show.
Oh, okay.
And didn't get to use it. But it came out of a company in LA that literally makes fur for Chewbacca and for Sasquatch and those sorts of things. But these are my sound absorption panels. I just took the standard, stuff that you get, put it on a framework here and zip tied Max's fur around it.
Nice.
And it worked perfectly in this space because I've got an open space here. I can get a string quartet in here. I can get a vocal octet. And it just, with a couple of these doors, it was just getting a little bit too much bounce back, and these are perfect for that. So
that's great.
So they're a little fun thing to have. I'm not a guitarist. I think my fingers are too fat, but I can play 4 strings. So I've got ukuleles and some other ethnic instruments here. A couple
cigar box.
Technically, let's see, they're strung like guitars, but they're 4 strings, so I tune them like a ukulele and that sort of thing. Had a guy in Alabama, I've never seen one of these before, but it's a ukulele and a bass ukulele. They call it a U-bass, but it's tuned like a bass, but it's got these polyurethane strings that you can't even hear it, it's so soft, but it's got a pickup built into it. But once you get a pickup through it, it really sounds like an upright bass. And they make a product called a U-bass, which is a legit bass that's the size of a tenor uke, that if you ever are traveling and need the sound of an upright bass, U-bass. Links awesome. Below. Right? Yeah. No, I don't know. I've always been, a trumpet player, but all the brass instruments, so I finally found a tuba on eBay years ago, and I was so excited about that. So I'm a tuba owner now, which is only fitting because Larry plays the tuba, and so I was able to. I've used this on a lot of VeggieTales products. With my traveling, can never.
Oh my gosh.
Never have enough rubber chickens and rubber pigs. Some of those came from China. This is the way I work.
Wow.
Every day. Because I discovered years ago that if I was sitting up like this, my tension builds up here and my sciatic nerves here, I'm getting into too much detail here, but some of you will appreciate this. My sciatic nerves, if I sit like this for 15 minutes, the next day, I'm just in pain all over here for days.
Yeah.
And the only way that I've found that works is I've got a footrest down here, and this is literally how I write all day.
Wow.
And I never have any
Well, it's
pain.
better for your posture. It's bad to have your knees up like that. So it's better to have them out.
I've just discovered that this works for me. So when people sit in my chair, they're like, whoa, because it has, because it's made to tilt back like this. So I'm using this, but I'm also, I've got a wave drum here. This is the Oriental, which had a bunch of extra sounds in it, which actually are Middle Eastern also. And I actually have several projects that I write Middle Eastern music. So this...
That's really cool.
Yeah, it can really give me some really great sounds. The other thing I discovered decades ago was the wind controller. Being a brass player and a woodwind player, but also loving technology, I use the wind controller a lot. This one's the EWI 4000S, so this one's a couple years old. So this is a MIDI controller that uses trumpet or saxophone fingerings and then uses your breath But the beauty of it, so with wind controller, I'm literally using my breath to control the volume. I'm using my breath and the lip to control the vibrato.
Whoa.
It's set up so it's a legato mode, so you can do some trills. So a lot of my woodwinds and brass, I'll actually start here.
Wow.
And just literally breathe life into the sound.
Yeah.
And that makes a world of difference.
And that's made by Akai?
This one is made by Akai. The cool thing about this one, it's got its own analog sound module built in. So you could pop a couple batteries into this, pop a line out, and be playing a show.
Wow.
Now, the sounds you just heard are sampled.
Sure.
So those are MIDI coming out of the computer.
Yeah.
There's newer ones that are cheaper that are just USB. Yamaha also makes a WX series, which is just a competitor. They're really nice also. So
nice.
yeah.
I've never seen one of those before. That's really cool.
Yeah. The cool thing about the Akai, me being a trumpet player, you can set these fingerings up instead of as a saxophone, you can set them up actually as a trumpet fingering.
Oh, cool.
So even though it looks like an atomic clarinet, some people call it, it's actually using a hybrid trumpet fingering, which makes it a little easier for me to learn. But I find not many people use them because it's combining, you've got to be a band geek, either play a saxophone or a trumpet, and an electronics geek.
Yeah.
And you usually find one or the other.
Right.
But if you can cross that bridge, it opens a whole, there's whole sample libraries and machines that are built just to emulate woodwind instruments.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
really convincing.
Yeah. What are some of the sample packs you love to use?
The Vienna Ensemble, I've had theirs for years. That's a good just core. LA Scoring Strings is a huge one that I use for strings.
Who makes LA? Is that the name of the company?
Is that Audio Bro, I believe?
Audio Bro?
I think
cool.
that's the company, yes. I use a ton of contact instruments because I've gotten on a lot of mailing lists and they're always sending out, hey, this $500 package, now $99. And I'm always picking up stuff that's just left of center. I love acoustic things, organic things. So anything that gives me, and I do a lot of writing in that genre, a lot of scoring. So anything that gives me a fresh take on acoustic things, because there's, even in Logic, there's so much you can do with the synthesizer packages there.
Yeah.
And,
especially now.
Oh my gosh.
The new update they did where they added in the whole Ableton thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I used to pay $1,000 for Logic and have none of what it's got now. And now you've got, even just the Apple loops. I start a lot of things with an Apple loop.
Yeah.
And then I mask it with 10 other layers, but it started with an Apple loop.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think, oh, it's Apple loops. I don't know about that. Like, give it a try.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get the job
Apple
done.
loops are amazing.
I'm working on several projects right now that take place in the Middle East. And, there's some fantastic rhythmic loops that I start with.
Yeah.
Or some plucked loops that, I can't create that on my own.
Yeah.
Or with a sampled instrument, it's like, no, I need that loop to get it going. But then you layer it in with some live percussion and a string line, and all of a sudden you don't know what's live and what's fake.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I compare it to a fake Christmas tree. So everybody wants a real Christmas tree. I grew up with a real Christmas tree, but inevitably we've got a fake one now. But the goal is to make the fake one look like the live tree. Sure. So, when I'm stringing up the lights, it's already got lights on it, but I'm going to put some extra lights like down the middle of the tree so they you kind of see them through the branches, get a 3D effect. And then, you put the ornaments on, but then you're going to put the garland and the tinsel on. And you're basically creating these layers to try to trick you into believing it's a real tree. Yeah. So that's what I look at this as, is my computer. We don't have a budget to hire a dozen musicians. So my job is to fake you into believing that you're hearing an entirely live orchestra. Yeah. Or you don't even notice it because you're not distracted. Sure. You're seeing the story, you're hearing the story, and I'm interpreting the emotions for you to live along with in the story. Over here, I've just got my wall of percussion, you know, just anything and everything. And again, I just love, you know, hey, I was in Mexico. Well, you got to get a maraca.
Yeah.
You know, but every one of them sounds different. You know, I need a little acoustic drum. I might be doing a train beat or a little country thing or a little Dixieland thing. I can just grab my snare and some doodads over here, set them up right here and mic them up, which is different. I totally get it than doing a pop mix or a rock mix.
Sure.
I'm gonna send that out and do that with somebody else. There's a shop here, McKay's Used Books. They cover books and CDs and records, but they also have instruments. And so I'm always taking things in like old books and trading them in. And then most of my cymbals came came from there. You know, they're all cheap, but it does the trick for me. Because I tend to go for the more organic, sloppy sound than the tight, compressed pop sound.
Yeah.
And again, I love this sort of stuff. You know, you go to a souvenir shop on the coast in Florida and you get that stuff.
Oh, sweet.
Here's my theremin. This was hand-built by Bob Moog. He signed it, the inventor of the synthesizer. He for a while, had a company that was building his own theremins. So this is like,
yeah.
I've just got a little Yamaha speaker down here. This is wicked if I was running it through some effects and delay and
awesome.
some reverb.
Yeah.
But you know, the theremin was the first electronic instrument ever invented. You've got your pitch here and your volume here.
Wow.
So I could do a whole B-movie, a horror film B-movie scored on that. So I don't
so
get a
fun.
lot of use out of it.
Yeah.
But if anybody needs a theremin, you know where to go. My other find that I found on Craigslist, I tell you, is the place to go, is a Helicon. This predates the tuba and the sousaphone. This one was built in about 1880 in Paris, France.
Whoa.
So it's a little smaller than a tuba, but it's a little easier to carry around. But I love to take this on the street. Kind of soup it up with everything. I've even been known to strap a rubber chicken on here and squeeze that. So I play in a German band occasionally, so this is perfect.
Wow. How many things can we strap onto one?
Exactly. Trust me, I've experimented with what I can fit on there.
Amazing. The majority of the work you're doing is composing?
Yes. Composing or writing songs for film and video.
Okay.
There's going to be a show coming out next year called Dead Sea Squirrels, which is a spoof of literally dead squirrels that were found in the caves of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they come to life and tell this kid stories of what happened in Jesus' time. So I'm scoring for that.
Okay.
But there's a song in there too.
Nice.
And right now we're working on a reggae tune, you know, but it might be reggae, it might be Dixieland, it might be country. So I'm scoring 20 minutes and then I'm doing a 3-minute song in that. So
that's awesome.
So that's a typical show for me.
And then you also do photography.
I do photography on the side. I've always loved photography. Us creatives, I know you can relate to that. It's like music, photography, video. There's something about there's similar in how our mind thinks. So I've always dabbled in photography and started shooting professionally about a dozen years ago. So now I do a lot of the local artists, concerts, events, have done some photography with travel and that sort of stuff. So yeah, so I love doing that also.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip. If you're setting up your own studio and you have any questions about how to hook things up, what to plan for, what gear you are thinking about getting, how you want to go about it, you can schedule a call with me at andrewmastersmusic.com. It's a one-on-one, 1-hour consultation where you can ask me anything you want. The link is down in the description. Go schedule your call today. And if you're just chilling and you want to subscribe or watch another clip, click one of these two things.